Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we return to the battlefields of Cybertron with Transformers, War for Cybertron, Siege, Battlemaster, BLOWPIPE. This figure came out in 2018 as part of Wave 1 of the Battlemaster assortment. BLOWPIPE removes all pretense of being taken seriously by turning into a very bright and pastel baby blue blaster, which official paperwork calls a dual-impact shatterblast compression cannon. Whatever that means. The overall sculpt of the gun is actually very good and crisp, but the color really just drags it down. The original BLOWPIPE was a much darker blue, so I don't know exactly what Hasbro was going for when picking out the plastic color here. Maybe BLOWPIPE was caught on his way to a gender reveal party? Anyway, if you're lucky enough to have Titans Return Trigger Happy from a few years back, you can reunite this gun with his rightful owner, and he looks quite oversized, doesn't he? You can't even really get Trigger Happy in a cool gun-toting pose, because BLOWPIPE's staring right at you when you do, judging your life choices. It's not like Trigger Happy is that posable either, but that's a story for another time. BLOWPIPE comes with one accessory, an effect part simulating the muzzle flash of a weapon mid-firing. It looks really good, and is the reason why I picked BLOWPIPE above all the other Battlemasters. See, one gimmick of the Siege toy line I haven't been able to show off until now is that these muzzle flashes can also double as a simulation of the sparks that would fly when these giant robots shoot the fuck out of each other. These effect parts can nestle snugly onto small 3mm hardpoints scattered all over the larger figure's bodies and weapons. BLOWPIPE's effect part is the only one that simulates this effect with any plausibility. I mean, just look at some of these. One thing I discovered just before I began writing the script is that the effect part can actually split into two. The main shaft of light can remain on any of the 3mm hardpoints, while the outward petals of the sparks can nestly secure on any 5mm peg, though the utility of this eludes me somewhat, since more often than not, all the 5mm pegs you'll find are weapon handles. Transformation is your standard Target Master affair, except BLOWPIPE features quite a few tabs and slots that are dead solid to use. The first time I went into gun mode, I actually had a hard time getting the tabs that connect the heels to the torso out of their slots. They're that solid. While you can count the number of moving parts on one hand, this is the kind of polish and solidity I love to see on small Transformers. Robot mode is pretty generic, but who even remembers what BLOWPIPE looked like anyway? I sure don't, but that's because I'm not a fucking boomer. He looks pretty dumb with that giant penis nipple sticking straight out of his chest, but the tiny Decepticon tampograph and the painted green face and eyes alleviate that somewhat. No, they don't. His proportions are pretty good, and much like the gun mode, the robot mode features a metric shit ton of sculpted detail. However, if you take the gun barrel off his back, you can see that his torso and head are pretty much completely hollow. Did I mention that the gun barrel comes off? Well, you can peg it onto his arm via the 3mm peg that's sculpted on the underside. It looks okay, I guess. Pew pew. Alright, time to talk articulation on BLOWPIPE. Well, he's pretty basic, considering he's only made out of 7 parts. So, obviously he's not he's not very bendy, he's pretty rigid. Nothing at the head, of course, it's connected to the body. The shoulders are a simple ball joint. They just go around like that. They have all this range and stuff. He can T-pose like a boss. He can't dab though. His legs are also on a ball joint, but they're not as well cut as the shoulders, so they only go out this far. They can high kick, and he can do that, bring them back. Whatever you so desire, and if you really want to. He has an arcing back, but that means his groin separates from the rest of his body, and his guts probably spill out. And of course, the gun on the back can move like that if you so want to. And you know, maybe he's doing like a dive thing. Maybe he's going like woo. BLOWPIPE is a very adequate figure for his price point, though he doesn't really do anything special that his contemporaries don't. Really, you're just buying this specific figure for the aesthetics, or if you want a little companion piece for Trigger Happy. I'm probably going to end up getting Aimless from the next wave to go with my Misfire now that I think about it. This has been Kit Katastrophe. It's time to transform and roll out.